A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Rolling. Take a drink before we start. All right. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the first ever Green vs. Blue podcast. We are your hosts, David Brown and
Patrick, PlaystationPat Fennel.
two hardened veterans of the console wars, united by a love of visual arts and video games. Welcome, one and all. Console war veterans and civilian noobs. Green vs. Blue is a place where gaming collides, where we, your hosts, face off head-to-head in talking about Xbox and PlayStation. I, David, like Xbox, and Pat over here is a PlayStation boy.
Yes, sir.
No matter the discussion, it'll always tie back into two of the best gaming platforms, winky face. So today's segments and topics include your weekly PlayStation, Xbox news, PS Box news. Our weekly discussion segment is called Cross-Examination, where we interrogate each other about our given platforms. And then we have a rotating segment to finish off the podcast. So now I'm going to leave this next section to my buddy Pat over here. What's up, Pat?
Hey, Dave. How we doing today?
Doing all right, man?
Welcome you, and welcome everybody else to episode 1. I'm really stoked to get this going.
I'm pumped, man.
I think we got some hot scoops today for the fans
Some
and soon
bits.
to be fans and maybe haters, but here we are.
Cool, man. So what we got this week?
So today we're going to be doing our news segment, which we love to call cross-examination. We'll talk about news stories in our given ecosystems and then ask each other questions about it. So, but first we will start with what we've been...
Games this week.
Let me back up.
Just gonna wait a little bit. Okay, how's everyone doing today? My name is David SDDawg Brown, and my buddy over here.
I'm your co-host, Patrick, PlaystationPat Fennel.
So welcome to the first ever Green vs. Blue podcast. So we are two hardened veterans of the console wars. We are united by a love of visual arts and video games. Welcome one and all, console war veterans and your average civilian noob. So, Green vs. Blue, what is it? It's a place where gaming collides, where we, your hosts, face off in a head-to-head discussion between the platforms of Xbox and PlayStation. I personally like Xbox. I've always grown up with it. Pat over here loves PlayStation. So we decided to make a podcast and talk about that. So we'll talk about other things, but no matter the discussion, we'll always come back to those two gaming platforms. Today's segments and topics include your weekly PS Box news, so news in the world of PlayStation and Xbox. Our weekly discussion segment is called Cross-Examination, where we interrogate each other about our given platforms, and our rotating segment to finish off the day. So what do we got, Pat?
Well, today we're going to start out... well, first, David,
So plug. Let's do a little bit of plugging here.
Where can I find this show?
So check us out on Patreon. So patreon.com/greenvsblue, Green versus Blue. That's how it's spelled. You can check out my personal channel, SDDawg. Check it out on YouTube, and you can find Pat over here at.
You can find me on YouTube at VarietyPat. That is spelled VARIOTY Pat.
Cool.
And you can also find me on Instagram at PrimePatrick. Please feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear some feedback on the show today.
And all that will be in the description in our video here. So what do we got? Games this week, Pat? What are you playing this week?
So first off, not too much PlayStation for me. I'm currently we're down here in San Diego, California right now. And I normally live in Northern California. But, so I'm away from my PlayStation this week. All being said, I was actually able to pick up a Nintendo Switch about 2 weeks ago. If anybody's looking for those or anyone's seen the market, it's a little bit ridiculous right now with the resellers. But that being said, I've been playing some Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I'm doing a little rush through towards a Fuchsia City so I can get to the Pokemon Park and unlock some mystery boxes for one of the biggest games I've been playing for going on 4 or 5 years now, Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go, huh?
Yeah. And Community Day was this last weekend, and I actually caught a shiny Jigglypuff. So that was nice.
Nice. Good job.
What have you been up to?
I've been playing a lot of Halo 5, which is a 5-year-old game at this point. A lot of people did not like that game when it came out, and I was one of those people. But over the last few months, ever since the pandemic happened, I kind of wanted to just get back into that game, give it another shot. And the new Halo Infinite that's coming out, whenever that does come out, if you reach max rank in Halo 5, you'll get a special token of some sort. So I don't know what that is, but the grind is pretty insane right now. And I'm actually enjoying the multiplayer a lot. The campaign still sucks, but that's what I've been playing.
That's cool. I was a big fan of Destiny because that's the closest we got to Halo over on the PlayStation. But it's really cool to see that they're giving you some sort of token for playing Halo 5.
Yeah, hopefully they send me a new car or something, something like something special in the mail. I'm hoping that they really come through and 343 doesn't let us down. So that's that's all I've been playing this week. Nothing new. I know that there's a few new games coming out here or there, but I've just been kind of laying low until the new consoles arrive.
Sure. How close are you to 100%ing Halo 5 now?
I've 100%ed the game, achievement wise, but the max rank part, that is taking a long time. I'm almost halfway, just to give you an idea of how long the actual grind is for that game. So to reach 152, just going level from 1 to 150 is 25 million XP.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you an idea, you get about 15,000 XP per match if you use an XP boost. And
with an XP boost?
With an XP boost. God. And that's not double XP weekends or whatever. So I've been chipping away at it for months now, every day. And I've reached almost halfway. So once you get halfway, then that's a whole nother, from 150 to 152, that's another 25 million XP, which sucks. So again, I'm not really playing any other games right now. I'm kind of enjoying Halo and just appreciating that game.
I hear your struggle,
It's ridiculous, though.
Ghost of Tsushima came out about 2 weeks ago. I still need to finish that, but I've had it on the back burner and not really rushing because that's going to be the last big game till PS5, and Lord knows how all this COVID stuff is going to affect release dates of games in the future. God dang it, what was I going to say? Oh, but so to your point about the XP grind, I totally feel you. I'm level 39 in Pokemon Go right now, so I got about 3 million XP left, which for anybody who's below level 35 will know that that's about the cumulative XP at least to get to that.
So how many levels are in Pokemon Go?
So we're at 40 levels right now, and as I said, I'm really close on the XP, but of course, Niantic, the creators of Pokemon Go, just announced that we're going to be getting a boost to level 50 here as the new cap, which, God, I hope I can get to 40 before that happens.
Yeah, Pokemon Go, that's a game I haven't played in a very long time.
Cool. Well, so yeah, that's what we've been playing this week, and then there's not too many new games out. If you're listening to this in August 2020.
Thank you, first off. If you're listening at all.
yeah, thanks, really. The Avengers game beta is going on this next weekend, August 21st through the 23rd. It is now open access on all platforms, and you can preload the game on August 20th to hit the ground running for that beta weekend. I know there's a few skins that are available to beta testers, but overall your progress does not carry over. And are you really going to use those skins that you get from the beta? I mean, come on.
Come on, bro. Come on, man.
You'll be some of you are going to be level, whatever, 50 or 100, whatever the cap is in a couple weeks, and you're going to be wearing those ones anyways. So, yeah, cool. If you want to check it out, though, and if it's not your cup of tea, it's better than spending $60 in 2 weeks.
Very true. What else we got, Pat?
That's it. So let's head into our news section. Right. Our news and discussion. What we colloquially call the cross-examination.
The meat and potatoes. All right, let's get into it. So, not too long ago, actually last week, there was an interview that what is his name? Witter? Gary Witter?
Gary Whitta, I believe.
Gary Whitta from Animal Talking. His own podcast. He interviewed Phil Spencer last week, and in the segment of the interview, Witter asks Phil Spencer why people should buy a Series X console this holiday, given that the Halo Infinite delay. I'll just be honest. There's not a whole lot of reason to really buy one this holiday, so he kind of silence. Turn this down. Let me just turn this down. All right, let's start. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show this week. So last week there was a interview conducted by Gary Whitta from Animal Talking with Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox. Very interesting interview. Particularly, he was asked about whether or not people should buy a Series X and why, given that Halo Infinite has just been delayed. They talked about that within the podcast, or the YouTube show. But there was a very interesting bit that I extracted from it. So basically, at one point, Whitta asked Phil Spencer why people should buy a Series X this holiday, while citing in the past that quote-unquote console wars are traditionally hinged upon hardware capabilities and first-party games. So the Xbox Series X doesn't have a first-party game that it's launching with. So he asked him what his take was about that. Phil responded. He said, and I quote, "We've really evolved our strategy at Xbox to be more player-centric, where our players want to play the games that they want to play, to build our platform, to enable our customers to take the portfolio of games, take their friends with them, and play across a multitude of screens. Obviously, we want to have great games on console, and that's incredibly important to us. But at the same time, it's not just about playing any one individual screen." He continues, "We want people to feel like they are a member of Xbox, that membership in Xbox isn't about one device. It can be multiple devices. I want to have a great experience on the television, and I think Xbox Series X is absolutely going to deliver that, and I'm incredibly excited about the lineup of games that we're building. But it is a fundamental difference than the traditional console wars people talk about. How many consoles do I sell versus how many consoles another company sells? Sony or Nintendo. That's not our approach. If that were our approach, we wouldn't put our games on PC, we wouldn't put our games on Xbox One, we wouldn't do Xcloud and allow people to play games on their phones." So Pat, how do you feel about this statement?
I love this statement. I don't know if I've ever been more excited for a new video game generation.
Why is that?
Well, I've never felt more enticed to. I'm not gonna jump the ship ever completely, but I've never been more enticed to get involved in the Xbox ecosystem. Even with this Halo Infinite delay, you know, it's. I hate to admit it, but I've never played more than a couple hours of multiplayer from any of the Halo games, let alone the story. Sneak preview, not a sneak preview so much, but we will be having some Halo related content in the coming months here, and I can't believe it that we've reached this point. Like we used to We used to get movies physically and have to bring them home, and then streaming services, Netflix and Hulu were such a revolution. It was unfathomable 10 years ago that we would be able to stream games whatsoever, and I don't know, I can't wait to see Sony's answer maybe later this generation. I think it's a good thing that Xbox is probably going to put some pressure and push Sony in that direction. My favorite game console that I've ever owned was my Nintendo Vita, or my PlayStation Vita.
If you guys missed out on the Nintendo Vita, then I'm sorry. You guys fucking missed out.
Well, there was the Nintendo PlayStation 20 years ago before Nintendo and PlayStation started hating each other. But no, the Vita, I put, thousands of hours on that thing, and Persona 4 is one of my favorite games of all. Persona 4 was one of my favorite games of all time, and being able to play that on the go was part of the allure of that. I still haven't beat Persona 5 because it's hard to sit on the couch for 100 hours plus straight. Not straight, but 100 hours.
Yeah.
So, I'm really excited that Xbox is... you'll probably find me playing some Xbox games on my phone in the next year or so.
Yeah, no, I'm super jealous because I have iPhone, and Apple's being kind of not cool about putting Xcloud on there. But I think it's really cool that we see kind of like this permeation of like, we want games to be everywhere no matter what. And it's almost like the analogy that I think of is kind of like people who say like, oh, the console wars are still going on, like PlayStation has dominated with first party games. While that's true, it feels like Xbox has made a very clear point that they're not kind of playing that same game, that they can't. Honestly, they don't have the games. They don't have the lineup right now. And they know that. So they're leaning on Game Pass, they're leaning on Xcloud. And the analogy, what I was saying was, it's almost like in A New Hope, when Obi-Wan is fighting Darth Vader, and he's like, if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you ever know. So PlayStation is Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan is pretty much Xbox. And they're kind of like going beyond the console. Like their spirit is going into like phones and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not saying all this stuff hasn't come to fruition, so I'm not like just fanboying blindly, but that is a really cool thing that the console wars they're not over, but they've changed. It's more like platform wars.
Oh, the landscape has completely shifted.
It's because I think Sony's, to your point, how you said, I'm excited about how Sony's going to respond to that. Sony kind of is playing their same playbook, because if it's not broke, why fix it? Like they're limiting their first party games to their consoles. They're not very interested in investing in PC like how Xbox is. That's, if it works for them, that's fine. But I think that people are kind of underestimating Xbox right now, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it'll maybe happen in like a year from now. We'll start to see the gaming landscape change so much that's when I'll be really interested to see what Sony does.
Yeah. It's really completely up in the air right now. If you ask me, we don't have solid release dates. We don't even know any prices. And we're 3 to 4 months away, 3 months away from the release at this point. So, God knows what the landscape will look by then, let alone a year out or 5 years out. Mm-hmm. To the point about Xbox being so open to what you were saying and what Phil Spencer was saying, that there's been some conjecture that Microsoft and Nintendo are playing friendly with each other, and we could see Xcloud on a Nintendo console. Maybe not the Switch. Well, that's the thing with the Xbox, that it's scalable to any system specs. So it's possible that we could have Xcloud on Switch.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy.
And then finally, the last thing I'd like to say about that is we really have to see how Xcloud works functionally. There was some controversy, low-level whiner controversy this last week with the game Control. You played that, correct?
I bought it day one, and now I'm kind of screwed over. Of whatever happened with that.
Yeah, so the developers of Control announced that the free upgrade to the up-resed enhanced version that will run on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. That free upgrade will only be available if you purchase the Control Ultimate Edition that is out soon and will be selling for about $40. It's conceivable that maybe you get lucky or maybe everyone's lucky and the Xcloud version of Control is that Ultimate Edition, so it really wouldn't make a difference if you have Xcloud and the original game. But for the people that bought the game day one when sales were so paltry, and for people that have bought the DLC and continue to support the game, it's a lovely game, but I think it's really a bad move by the developer in this case.
Yeah. The publisher is I think that's kind of like what mandates whether or not you get to upgrade for free. It could be on xCloud, but I think it's ultimately up to them. It sucks because it's. I bought it with the trust that this game was going to be really cool, and it was like a AA title. It wasn't necessarily like something that I think would be exploited like a AAA title, but here we are, and it sucks for the people who kind of stuck with that game day one, bought all the DLC. I didn't personally buy the DLC, but yeah, it's great for people who haven't played the game and now all of a sudden they want to. It's great. It's great for the people who bought the game and now, but yeah, it sucks for people like me. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Sure. We move ready for the next story?
Let's do it.
Cool. So next up this week, Call of Duty 2020, there is a teaser website that is now up called pawntakesspawn.com/TV. That is PAWNTAKESPAWN.com/TV. Via Prestige is key on Twitter. Thank you for the scoop and the keeping a good eye out. There is a code on this website on some VCR that opens a door in the farmhouse in Call of Duty Warfare. This is kind of an innovative reveal. Obviously we had no E3 in 2020. I believe all the big game conferences are now canceled, and pretty much all announcements have been happening online. But I think it's kind of cool that these companies are finding innovative ways to announce their stuff. So it's most likely that beyond so you go through the farmhouse door with this code, and it's conceivable that that's where Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty could be completely revealed. We do know that it ties into the Cold War somehow, but that's about it.
Yeah, Call of Duty is always like one of those franchises that will use anything and everything to market their game. I'm not particularly excited about this one, but going back to the Cold War, I know they only touched on that in the first Black Ops, but if any Call of Duty I were to be excited about in the last 3 or 4 years, it'd probably be this one. Just considering everyone was kind of over the futuristic setting and all that stuff, and it's just that time of the year. They got to start rolling out that marketing.
Well, I'm a big fan of zombies, so I'm certainly excited for this. I'm not a huge Call of Duty guy at all. But yeah, I'm excited to see some zombies. But it's completely crazy. It's completely crazy the collaborations that we've been seeing this in the last year to the 6 months to the last year. There was the movie Tenet. There was a trailer that was revealed in Fortnite. Call of Duty and Mountain Dew have always had a very close relationship. Call of Duty and Doritos as well. But it's complete Wild West right now as far as collaborations and cross-marketing. There was just the Tony Hawk Remastered 1 and 2 games are coming back out. And to get in the beta, you either have to pre-order the digital version specifically. The beta is not available to people who pre-order physically. Or if you were lucky, you could have gone to Chipotle in the last couple weeks and ordered the Tony Hawk burrito, which would have gotten you a beta code, but only if you were one of the first 2,000 people.
Oh, 2,000. First 2,000 to get Equali, huh?
I imagine that maybe 500 of those people even care about the game, let alone the beta.
Yeah, Chipotle and Tony Hawk is the weirdest. Those two names in the same sentence just feels really weird to say.
Somehow it's still less weird than the Butterfinger Final Fantasy VII cross promotion that we got. I bought two Baby Ruths and was able to redeem a nice Tifa home screen theme for my PS4.
There you go. What else we got, Pat?
All right, so moving on to our next story. Lazlow Jones, writer, producer, and in-game radio show host, has left Rockstar Games after nearly 20 years.
That's big news.
This was recently discovered through his LinkedIn, which was updated approximately in April, but has just been noticed. So this guy, this is no joke. This guy worked on GTA, Red Dead, Bully, and Max Payne games, which are
OG titles.
All of the biggest Rockstar games, which Rockstar makes the biggest games in the world anyways. This guy, Lazlow Jones, led a team that made trailers. They did motion capture for the acting in the games. He produced and wrote most of the media, most or at least some of the media in interactions in the game. He's worked with crazy talent such as Ricky Gervais and Fred Armisen from Fred Armisen is in one of our favorite shows, Portlandia.
Good show.
And he's worked with musicians like Phil Collins and Iggy Pop, which is crazy. And lastly, a name I saw he mentioned was fashion designer and icon Karl Lagerfeld, who passed away sadly in 2018 or 19. I'm not sure exactly. Time has no meaning anymore. So prior to Lazlow Jones, why this is really important is, there might be a little gap in Rockstar's writing. We'll have to see. I can't imagine they'll let it really affect the game. There's hundreds of people that work at that studio. But Lazlow worked in radio and TV prior to Rockstar Games, and he is now working alongside Disney and Netflix He is now working with Disney and Netflix on a number of shows, and I quote, "consulting for a video game company and collaborating with a writer/director from Comedy Central and Emmy-winning producer and director, formerly of DreamWorks," end quote. So, he doesn't mention any names on his LinkedIn, nor does he mention, he does not mention any games or projects that he's specifically working on, nor does he mention any people specifically. But I was able to do a little legwork, and with about 90% certainty, Lazlow Jones, the writer of GTA, Lazlow Jones, the writer of the GTA games and Red Dead, is working alongside Tom McGrath, the director of Madagascar. The two big pieces of evidence pointing towards that are that Tom McGrath won a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Interactive Media and Original Daytime Program or Series for a VR experience called Asteroids! Exclamation point.
All caps.
All caps. It's a little difficult to find this video. The search engine optimization SEO is not very good for this thing, and when I did try finding it, it was supposedly listed on the PlayStation Store for PSVR. I was not able to find it, but it is available on Xbox One, Windows 10, Google VR, and pretty much anything else.
Cool. So hopefully we see something cool coming out of this potential collaboration, right?
Yeah. If anyone's more interested, you can head to baobabstudios.com. That's spelled BAOBAB Studios.com.
And we'll put the link in the description just in case.
Perfect.
All right. What else we got?
So, lastly, the biggest piece of news has to do with the biggest game in the world at the moment. Fortnite has been delisted from the Apple and Google Play Store.
Ooh, yeah.
So Fortnite has Fortnite developer Epic has begun quite the social media camp. Fortnite developer Epic has begun quite the campaign. They're fighting over the 30% profit cut that both Apple and Google take from App Store purchases. So
naturally, they make a 1984 themed video about rising up and joining the army of a multi-billion-dollar corporation against a trillion-dollar corporation. Naturally, you want to sympathize with them, right?
Sure. It's really mind-blowing and honestly a little bit sickening to me. This war that Epic is kind of waging against Apple and Google.
I get it. I get where they're coming from. Like they want their game on their platforms and stuff, and they can't do it with their, P&P, whatever. Apple and policies and procedures and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
I think that's the correct verbiage for it. But I think they're Apple's and Google's policies, and they have to take a 30% cut or whatever from whatever they have on the store. And Epic's a big company; they don't want to give that up. So naturally, they just went against it, and it's like, I get it, but at the same time, like this is kind of more of an internal thing, and I think to kind of bring their young audience to like this whole way bigger than themselves thing. It's I don't know. It's kind of just sickening, and it's kind of dystopian.
Dystopian, that's a good word for it.
Ironically dystopian, like.
Yeah, this is no thing that came to a turning point and Epic decided to sort of cut the ties. This is a very, very specifically targeted attack.
Calculated, because they already had the video of the 1984 thing right after the announcement.
Yeah.
It's like they were going to, and then they would hit them with a lawsuit.
For anyone that's not seen this, I think we have to include a link to this video in the show notes.
For sure.
Go ahead and dislike that video when you get over there, though. See, I thought it was a fan-made video when I first saw it. It's only about 2 minutes long, and it's really egregious. Like, that Epic is painting themselves as some...
like underdog.
Some suffering underdog. Yeah. And I really don't like, on top of it, that if Epic is fighting to receive 30 or cut this 30% fee that Apple and Google both charge, and they're trying to make more profits, I think the worst part is that they reduced the price of V-Bucks for the end user and consumer.
Mm-hmm.
There was an opinion piece, in fact, this past Sunday I saw that was published on IG. There was an opinion piece that was published on IGN and was written by Imran Khan, who formerly worked for Game Informer magazine. And his opinion was that it's basically not as altruistic as it seems. And I have to completely agree with him. You know, they're giving free V-Bucks to people, so they're really mobilizing people against Apple and Google. And on top of that, I don't like how the price reduction from $9.99 to $7.99 for 1,000 V-Bucks obfuscates, and it makes the conversion rate much more difficult. I had that issue with Xbox as well, that if you were spending $10 on a certain number of points during the Xbox 360 generation, it wasn't really a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-100 ratio.
Yeah, and that typically is deliberate with those types of things, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I never really cared about Fortnite, so I'm extremely biased toward this entire article. But just coming from just a purely gamer perspective, like this is something that shouldn't involve like their core audience. I mean, it's not like Fortnite's getting eradicated from every platform ever. This is just on mobile devices, and this is just not our problem.
It's a real power play. I understand it to a degree. It does not justify it by any means. Google owns about 85% of the global market share for cellular phones, and Apple owns about 15% of the other. There's got to be other companies, but at least in the United States, well, even that being said, Huawei phones run off Google, so.
Yeah, but in no way is this. This is more of like a picking the lesser of two evils rather than seeing it as like they're trying to keep us down, like we're the patriots here, and it's like, no, it's really no.
That's a really great way to put it, the lesser of two evils, and I think that's a good place to end there. Sure. Yeah, we'll see how everyone ends up taking sides as this story continues to develop over the next couple months.
Well, let's feel good. Let's end on a good note here.
Yeah, that was a little dark and depressing. So how about we move to our final segment of the show, our rotating segment,
the heart warmer of the week, a story that makes us feel good. Okay, so the heart warmer of the week this week is related to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remakes, coming out, I believe, next month in September. So this is a story about.
Let's restart. Just no, don't. All
right.
Just talk. Start the.
What do you want?
Start from this story is.
This story is. Oh, okay. So this is our heart warmer story of the week. I don't understand what you're saying. What did I do wrong?
Nothing. I was gonna say cut your just read the quote that Tony Hawk gives, because
you don't want me to read this whole thing.
I want you to read the whole quote that he gives, because it's.
Where does it start?
That's right here.
All right, we're almost done.
This will be less than 5 minutes. So. We'll just.
I can just read it, dude. It's I
restart the whole segment. We'll restart the whole segment, the heartwarmer of the week, and then per Tony Hawk's Instagram, and then this is the full quote. So go ahead and read the full quote.
All right. So our heartwarmer story of the week is about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake that includes a Skate Tricks renaming to honor its creator. And this is per Tony Hawk's Instagram. So for For nearly 40 years, I'm quoting now, we've shamelessly referred to this trick as the mute air/grab. Here's a backstory. Around 1981, a deaf skater in Colton Skate Park local named Chris Weddle was a prominent amateur on the competition circuit. The indie air had just been created and named, so somebody proposed that grabbing with the front hand should be known as the tracker air. Others countered that Chris was the first to do it, so it should be named after him. They referred to him as the quiet mute guy. So it became known as the mute air, and we all went along with it in our naive youth. In recent years, a few people have reached out to Chris, who still skates, about this track and the name it was given. He has been very gracious in his response, but it is obvious that a different name would have honored his legacy, as he is deaf, but not lacking speech. I asked him last year, as I was diving into trick origins, and he said he would have rather named it the Deaf or Weddle Grab, if given the choice. His exact quote to me was, "I am deaf, not mute, so as we embark on the upcoming Tony Hawk game demo release, some of you might notice a trick name change, the Weddle Grab. It's going to be challenging to break the habit of saying the old name, but I think Chris deserves that recognition. Thanks to @Derek_DeLeo for being a huge advocate to the deaf community in action sports and for being the catalyst in this renaming process. I told Chris recently, and his reply was, "I'm so stoked," and then he shot his photo in celebration yesterday. So that's a great. I really like that story because it's true. I mean, like they thought he was mute or whatever. Like it just shows that how far things have come like with the deaf community. Like people have all these preconceived notions about them, like they're not as smart or they can't talk or whatever. It's like they can, they just can't talk very well because they can't hear. But yeah. So I think it's a great change to the trick. I'm excited. I'm more excited for that game now. Yeah, I think it's a really good tribute after all these years.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Tony Hawk was around at like pretty much at the origin of skateboarding culture and
in the 90s. Yeah.
It's skate culture is totally synonymous now. If anyone wants to check out, there's a great movie directed by Jonah Hill called Mid-90s.
Great movie.
About skaters. And it did not fully penetrate the culture for a long time. But I think it's a great ode to this guy, Chris Weddle, really honoring him. I think it ties in a lot of history that would have completely been lost if this change wasn't made.
I think it's cool I think it's what the coolest thing about it, I mean, aside from the obvious like tribute, is how involved Tony Hawk is with his games. Like he could easily just slap his name on it and then call it a day. But he's never really done that with this series. He's always like put in his own stamp of like his identity in the games, and you can see that from like the earlier games all the way up until like the late 2000s games and stuff. Like he really does care about his name on something, which is cool because it's like Activision that's publishing it. So Activision is like historically, anti-consumer, but I think it's cool that they're really working with Tony Hawk on this one and they're allowing him to like continue to work on it in such a personal way.
Cool. Well, thanks for that story. That was a great.
Thank you.
It was a good heart warmer for real.
All right, man. We'll wrap up this first episode.
All right. Well, that was a great first episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/greenvsblue. You can find me again on YouTube at VarietyPat.
And you can follow me on YouTube at SDDawg. Yeah. I think that is it.
Well, David SDDawg Brown.
As always.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.